Welcome back to all for our fifth session. So let's move to another topic that is destination management. We will discuss it with Ronaldo Tavares de Souza. My apologies for the eventual bad pronunciation from Université Laval, Canada, for his speech entitled What's on the Destination Menu? The Integration of Food into the Portfolio of Attraction, the case of Charlevoix and Eastern Township in Quebec. So thank you very much, Ronaldo, for being here. So I invite you for the presentation and leave you the screen and also the floor. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Andrea. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry for the delay. It was my Zoom was not working at first. Hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, perfect.
Well, that's good. Well, so just a bit introduction about myself. I'm a Brazilian student in Canada. I'm making here my doctorate. In this interface between food and tourism. Initially, in the beginning of my career, actually, I have worked many years in marketing research. And about 8 years ago, I decided to go back to the academy and study further in depth the sustainability of food production, but from a consumer standpoint. So my first research area was around alternative food networks, and that took me to this discussion regarding tourism in food production, because one of the alternative food networks are related to the production of traditional products or terroir products, as we're going to discuss in my presentation. So I'd like to introduce the problem that I see, or how I have discussed this problem, this research problem, starting from the consumer interest for food. So in the 50s, we saw the industrialization of the agriculture, but in the 70s, we have seen the rebirth of this of the interest of consumers for food. So they start to pay attention more in what they were eating. That had a interaction with food producers as well. So we see that to talk about what I eat, I need to talk to my producer somehow. We are talking about a closer relationship, not only in terms of physical distance, but also informational distance and cultural distance as well. And this opens two opportunities. First of all, products with higher value added, but also the interest for the landscapes of productions. We are talking here in the first phase. It's not only about agriculture industrialization, but also urban concentration. No, but on the other hand, we have the same relationship between consumers and producers, but this time we have many other organizations involved in a new activity. And I'm pretty happy to be part of this discussion here today, because I see a lot of things that are really inspiring in terms of agritourism and gastronomic tourism for sustainability. And the opportunity to add value to the landscape, to food products, and the organization that happens in the destination, in the marketing of these gastronomic destinations, took me to the question about how this coordination between local actors are being responsible for communicating this destination this gastronomic destination, to influence back consumers either to come and visit the region or to buy value-added food products. So my objective in this research was to compare the place occupied by food in the communication of those destination marketing organizations and also in the local food travel associations. So I mean basically two types of actors, those that are responsible for communicating the whole destination regardless of its gastronomic site, and the food travel associations that are really dedicated to foster the gastronomic tourism and the agritourism. What I did was I analyzed the lexical and the image contents of those websites using NVivo. I took the three first levels of the website and every page that was related to food. And first, I started with the codes defined according to the literature, but I have also, along the work, included the emerging themes. And then finally, well, I regrouped those themes in higher orders once to better understand what was going on in the communication of those actors. Those are the regions that I'm talking about. So I'm in Canada. Canada is renowned by its natural landscape. It's a very low density territory, although here in this region, it's more dense. It is still a very natural destination. Charlevoix is the first region. It's less dense in terms of population, and you see that we have less producers in this area also when we compare to the Eastern Townships. The Eastern Townships is in the border with the United States. There's much more people in this region. We have 4 national parks, and there's plenty of local producers, transformers, and producers as well. This is the thematic structure that I concluded in the end of this analysis. Basically, everything that was related to agri-food content was grouped together. I'm talking here about everything that was communicated to drive confidence in consumers, to explain consumers how things were done, to communicate that those products were authentic, and of course, what kind of products were they communicating as well. The other 4 elements were general elements that I would like to understand, because what we're looking, or what we're trying to identify here is the level of coherence between the two kinds of communication. Basically, from this coherence, we can have a better representation of the region, and that would influence more consumers to either visit the area or buy food products from these areas or as typical food products. So these 4 elements start with the nature, so how the products were portraying, or how the producers were portraying the region in terms of natural resources, but also is this coherent with the portrait that is done by the destination marketing organization. The human elements here, I saw that this is very interesting, because in every page we can see that they simulate the human presence there, but it's a kind of very different portrait when we talk about the food producers and the touristic sites, usually in a natural landscape. In architecture here, it was also something interesting to note. And the culture and leisure communication, that was another big chunk of the communication. And we know that the food is also part of this environment as a cultural asset. Well, it was interesting to understand that we can see here that this Eastern Townships is much ahead in terms of communicating their food attractions, you know, while Charlevoix is more shy in terms of making it part of the destination marketing organization. So what I mean here, basically when regular tourists looks for information in the destination marketing organization website, he's going to find a much better place, a much larger place for food attraction in the Eastern Townships than in Charlevoix. This is the word cloud from both websites. We see, well, this confirms the slide that I just showed you, and you can see here. We start to see here the importance of some specific productions like cheese and wines, no? And the place that they give to communicate their food attractions, no? So they talk about gourmands, and they have a higher space for restaurants, bigger space for restaurants as well. We can see here just below restaurants, micro breweries. So it's another important production for them. In the case of Charlevoix, we don't see the same power of these words in the regular destination market organization. You know, restaurants has a small place here, and the cuisine is also the first word that comes up from this food word. When I try to understand what is linked to these important words linked to food, I see that again in the Eastern Townships, we can see a clear communication here. I mean, le canton expérience gourmande, that means gourmand experiences from Eastern Townships, has a sense. So it's well embedded in the communication of the destination market organization. On the other hand, again, in Charlevoix, cuisine is a very generic place, is a very generic term used. And it's associated, either with bistro, that kind of restaurant or small restaurants, Canadian and international food, international cuisine. I mean, there's nothing very specific in terms of Charlevoix gastronomy in the site of the destination marketing organization. And then I try to understand, okay, so it's clear to me that Eastern Townships communicates much better their food attractions, but what else is communicated? And how different is this communication between the destination marketing organization and the food travel association? You know, are they portraying the same elements of the region? So is the food travel association helping to build the image of the destination as well? And what we can see here is in this comparison, is that there is a discrepancy in the other elements as well. The first one here, those are the summary of my thematic structure. So I mean, the first two bars are the architecture, communication, culture, and leisure, people, how they are displaying the humans in their representations, and the natural environment. So, for instance, in Charlevoix, we can notice that the representation of natural elements is much bigger in the destination market organization than in the food travel association. The same happens here, but I think it's the other way around. So Charlevoix, the Food Travel Association, portrays much more the cultural aspects, while the destination market organization is not portraying the same assets. It's important to mention here that I excluded the agri-food production from this comparison, no? So I could have a fair comparison between those two communication strategies. No? On the other hand, we see that again, Eastern Townships reveals much lower discrepancies, much smaller discrepancies in the communication compared to Charlevoix. So what may be behind these two things, these facts? First, we cannot identify in Charlevoix a leading product. So I mentioned, we saw in the beginning that they have much less producers in the area. But for instance, Charlevoix is a region, an interesting region, because it owns the first protected designation, geographic designation in Canada, but it's just a certification that's not working at all, because nobody wants or no one knows a lot about the Charlevoix land. That's the product. So the product itself, that was a seed to this orchestration, is not as attractive as wine and cheese, as we can see in the case of Eastern Townships. The local the contribution of food tourism to the whole tourism industry may be lower as well, so they are not able to get traction. And there is a dispute here. We may say that between cultural and natural attractions in the area. In the case of the Eastern Townships, we have a wine production since the 80s that is the most famous wine production in Quebec, and was the beginning of the food tourism in the region. And then from this wine tourism, we see some authors relating the emergence of a beer industry, of a cider industry, and also this cheese industry that is closely related to the wine consumption. So in the end of the day, they are all reinforcing the food tourism in the region. Some final notes. The analysis confirms so that food tourism is stronger when tourism and other food factors are aligned, as we see in Eastern Townships. It seems that a leading food sector like wine, is really able to accelerate food tourism development, and those complementary food attractions could be incentivized by successful models in a virtuous cycle. So that's it. What I had to share, and I'm open to questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Ronaldo, for your presentation. I think that you stress the fact and the importance of analyzing and studying the communication activities about food tourism and different channels, because it is very important. So as you said, I also ask our participants if they have some question for you. You can simply digit your question and I will read it. In the meanwhile, we have a couple of minutes, and I have a question if I can.
Go on.
Okay, while we can. Wait, what I'm interested is, okay, you identified some differences between the Eastern Township and Charlevoix in communication, but and you said that this difference may be related to the fact that The previous is a wine production area, and there's a closer link. But are there maybe other factors? For example, are they pushing or not food tourism? So they are also different in terms of, as you said, in the number of cities and the number of visitors, the number of farms to be visited.
Yeah, I think, well, I think the question is complex because the formation, the emergence of a destination, a gastronomic destination, is also complex. But other factors that could be influenced as well is probably the population density that is much higher in the eastern townships. So when you have some cities that can that's going to have consumers and visitors to keep moving and feeding this food gastronomic industry, it may accelerate the process. In the case of Charlevoix, although they are close to Quebec City, who has 600,000 inhabitants, it's a huge region as well. But in the case of the Eastern Townships, the cities are really embedded in the region. So I would say that we have at least the three major cities accounts for like probably 250,000 inhabitants. You know? So although they are smaller, they can be a good source of visitors for the region as a whole.
Okay. Of course, thank you. We have another question, but from our participant. So he said, or she said, that no, it was interesting to analyze the wording sentence from many different websites. And she is asking, what software did you use to analyze?
Vivo.
Okay, perfect.
That was an easy one.
Okay, perfect. So I think that we can conclude. So we will come back also with you after with another presentation, but we can 3 minutes at the end, so we can conclude. Thank you very much, Ronaldo. See you in a couple of minutes, and I hope to see you also, our participants, in a couple of minutes for the next session.
Thank you, Andrea.
Bye.
Bye.